Hi, my name is Eddie Punko. I am a practicum student at the Pride Center of Edmonton, as well as a student of MacEwan. I'm a first-year social work student. I've been working with the Pride Center of Edmonton for going on a year now, and I've loved it so much, and it's taught me so much about the community that I haven't been able to be involved with previously. Even though I lived in Edmonton for like 3 years, I've only just in this past year been able to actually like really enter my space and become a part of it. So I'm really happy to be here today.
Hi, I'm Larry Jewell from Edmonton Pride Seniors Group. I'm almost the opposite end of the spectrum. I have been in Edmonton forever, it would seem, and it's wonderful to have this opportunity to be here and to share with all of you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Larry. Hello, everyone. My name is Joan Whitecap, and I'm here as part of the Aging with Pride group that we meet every week. And this is the first for me in person for a long time, so it's kind of a thrill. I'm what I'd like to call a vintage senior. I've been in the game of coming out for many years. I'm still coming out, so it's an ongoing process. And thank you to all the organizers. This is amazing.
Emily Davies. I am in my third year at MacEwan, and I've been around the Edmonton queer community since about 2016, just volunteering and going to events and kind of popping up everywhere. And I'm really glad to be here because I am always so interested in history, and especially hearing from the history of this community and the people who were here before I was. So, yeah.
I am honored to be in every single one of you. And I think since for this week is to discuss queer joy, I think that it just makes sense for us to start with what, when you think of queer joy, what comes to mind for you? So whoever would like to go first.
When I think of queer joy, I actually think of my coming out, which was in 1967, and it was coming out in Edmonton, but in a very different world where we were psychiatrically sick at best, criminal, so evil morally that it couldn't even be discussed. So you came out in a total absence of any information of any sort. None of that sounds very joyful, but once I found the community, and just finding community could be difficult because there was no information. But the first time that I walked in, there were no gay bars at that point. There were a few gay tables in otherwise straight bars, and walking into that environment, finding a family, finding people like me who are actually here in my environment, not a few people in San Francisco or New York, which was my previous idea of what the gay community was. Nearly 60 years later, I can still remember that enormous feeling, and the whole sense of community, which started there, has sustained me through good times and bad. And to me, that's the connection. Queer joy is something to be shared with all of us.
My queer joy ultimately, I think, is about community, and I feel like it has only grown for me in the last few years, and especially having the CSGD space and everything that has happened here, like in the last year, not even a full year, but that to me has been some of the strongest queer joy in my life. Is there is a space where this is something that is openly happening and openly recognized, and we're here and we don't have to hide. And that to me is very important.
So as I mentioned, I haven't been in the community for as long as, but I. I'm baby. That's the line. I am baby. While I've only been doing my actual transition for about 3 years now, I've only just recently had the opportunity to be able to share those experiences with other people that are in my community, hear their experiences and get their knowledge and that kind of thing, be able to learn from them. And I feel like regardless of age, there's a lot that I personally can learn from like queer elders in a sense, not necessarily like, but just people who might have more knowledge about things that I couldn't even imagine to think of, whether that be history, whether that be experiences or information. For me, Queer Joy was really being able to see how easy it is for people to, or how much easier it is for people to access things that they need to now, whether that be hormone therapy, whether that be therapy in general, affirming resources, clothing, a doctor that's actually going to treat you right. And I've been really blessed to be able to be welcomed in open arms in a lot of spaces now that originally I might not have been. And that's something that I'm really grateful for and joyful for.
What pride means to me, yeah, it's a process, a long process, starting off at a time. And one of the difficulties of the Dark Ages, as they were, is of course, we bought in to these ideas of being sick, etc., etc. We didn't buy in fully, but back in my mind, I was always a little worried that maybe they were right, maybe I was wrong, maybe I really was as sick as everyone said. Didn't think so. And the process of pride for me has been slowly coming to recognize that for the crap it is, and recognizing that I have my personal worth, the community has its worth, and our celebrations are that. They're celebrations, and we have as much right to be here as any other person. And indeed, we not only have a right, we actually have an obligation to be here for other people.
Pride. How proud am I? That really waxes and wanes, I think. I'm finding as a younger person, I was a little bit louder and a little bit prouder. I'm really pleased that I am part of the Aging with Pride group. That's been a really helpful thing for me in my graduation as an older person. Sometimes I imagine myself in a world like the bikers were in the old days. If you were, say, riding for the Hells Angels, you would wear your colors always, even if you left the group, you were allowed to wear your colors so people could see you and know, okay, that person is part of the group. And so to me, that's a little harder now. And I find myself just being a little quieter, maybe fitting in, sort of. I'm a single person. That's always a little bit of an oddity, especially in some of the communities out in the rural areas. I find it's pretty coupley out there. So you're already a little bit, different. And so I don't always declare myself. I'm noticing as an older person, I just kind of blend in. So I don't know if that's going back in the closet or not. I certainly hope not. But sometimes I do question it, because every person I meet, I go through that little thing in my head, that little narrative. Do they need to know? Should I tell them? They are assuming, interestingly enough, the father of my children just passed away. So we had a big celebration and I was completely welcomed, which I'm so grateful for to attend. But I felt a little bit going back in time, because again, I wasn't wearing my colors. I wasn't wearing my loud and proud. So those moments of feeling a little bit assimilated, sometimes that's coming up more for me as an older person. But I am proud. I remind myself that always I am proud, but sometimes you just don't feel as proud.
Is it okay if I touch briefly?
Yes.
I think that, like you said, like doing that little assessment when you first meet someone, I feel like regardless of how far along in your journey you are, that's almost like just a safety mechanic. I think a lot of people can like empathize with that experience. Even if you're walking in the street and you have to decide whether I'm going to hold my boyfriend's hand right now, depending on what section of the area I'm in. I think that that's a extremely valid experience, no
Yes.
matter where you are
Yes.
in your life. And I think that the pride doesn't necessarily celebration and flags in the air, like something as simple as wearing a pin or just being aware of yourself and like being happy for yourself. Excellent, yeah. I feel like it can really be just, well, it's just that little like having something in your house that's rainbow. That's pride.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this huge glamorous. For some people it is. For myself it is. Look at me.
Yes.
But I have flags all across my walls in my house, but that doesn't mean that just because that's something that I keep personal doesn't mean that I'm any less prideful. I think that you are absolutely still very prideful in the way that you experience your pride. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me also, I know that I have been very loud in my pride, especially like freshly out in like 9th grade, and all of my classmates have already had enough reasons to like not like me. And I just kind of dug my heels in and I was like, you know what? No, I don't care. I'm going to own this, whether you like me or not. And so just really coming into a space where I can go from being out in spite of the people around me to being out and being open because there are people around me who welcome that and who celebrate that means so much to me.
And actually, Emery, did you want to go to the next
Oh,
question?
sure.
Since we're kind of on
Yeah,
that
that
topic of,
works.
yeah, we're kind of on that topic of how pride has changed over the years, if you want
Yeah.
to enter that question.
Yeah, I guess our next question is, how has pride changed over the years and like in your lifetime?
It seems to be about, it was such a thing back in the day, you were, that was it, and there was no choice in between those categories. You had no support or didn't feel supported. So I'm finding that's really wonderful. It's so expansive now. The whole alphabet, I love it. Although it's a little hard for me to remember it all and say it quickly. But I think it's wonderful. I don't know if it's still a matter of sex. When we started out, it was a matter of sexual preference. So not sure if that expansion has expanded that even. So it's not even so much about sex anymore. That, you know, I'm still very interested in that, but I think it's great. It's bigger, much bigger, and much more inclusive now.
Putting on prides in the early 2000s to fight to get corporate sponsors, because that wasn't happening now, or how proud a moment it was to have Edmonton police and military participating in pride parades. I certainly completely understand why we're looking at that now as problematic, or certainly not welcoming and inclusive. But that was a huge victory for the people that were involved in, or that mainstream recognition, or the recognition from those groups that held power, was what we needed, I guess, to move things to where they are now, which I think the transitioning of our community and our pride festivities, it can be more encompassing of all the communities that were within us. Like Joan was saying, it was gayer.
I agree with everything that's said, and I have nothing really to add to that. So, Emery.
Thank you so much. And like, there's so much to learn, like in the sense of history about the experiences that have happened in the past and how things have evolved, and learning from the past so that we can do better in the future, not only for ourselves, but also for younger queer individuals who come out in the future. So we're gonna kind of hop back into joy for a little bit. And so I think that we really want to help bridge the gap between generations of experiences. And I just want to know a little bit of I want to know a little bit about what you want the younger generation to know about joy and pride, and what your words of wisdom to them are, things that you wish that they would understand and that they should know. So that's a real big question. So if you need a minute, that is okay.
I think our generation, the generation just before, there are some important lessons, and certainly I think the HIV crisis basically created the modern gay community in a very real way. Think of the group that was very active called ACT UP, which is primarily based in New York, the other places. ACT UP is sort of a clever double-edged meaning. Part of it is they acted up a great deal, but the acronym actually stands for Aid Coalition to Unleash Power, and that maybe is the message. You have power, but your job requirement is to unleash it, however you see appropriately. And we can give some advice, ignore or not, as you see fit.
Well, I say to the youth, I'm going to steal a quote right now. It's Shakura Saidi has a great song, and she says, "Don't worry about tomorrow, don't worry about yesterday, just enjoy the moment. It's all you have, and live in the present," basically. And I love that. And the only other thing I could say is to stay clean. Oh my God, you could save yourself years of struggle just by staying clean, eating healthy, and all those other things. Just take care of yourself, because that's really all you have. So good luck.
I'm gonna steal back the mic just really briefly. Specifically for you two, because you're not. Since we've made this very clear, they're not old. They are fresh, beautiful butterflies. But as a generation of LGBTQ2S plus people, you're very much in this in between of like this very young Gen Z space of like a lot of different identities and ways of interacting with each other compared to the different experiences of those very early on, and or not very early on. We're not going to here. But just like you're very much in between these two experiences, and I'd just like to hear what your feedback is on kind of being in that in-between space and what you'd like both of us to.
Yes. Yeah, that's certainly very true. And I think sitting here, I'm it just remains the biggest thing, and people like, and I think that's a problem. That's just our problem globally right now, is that people have forgotten how to communicate. So many platforms where our voices can be heard, but is anything heard if on the other side acting? That certainly doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I know there's I think it's so amazing that people are so committed to their own principles, that they're not going to sacrifice those. But I'm just kind of the generation where sometimes there needs to be a little compromise. We talk about how intent doesn't really matter anymore, and it's only about the impact, but just a moment when to think about where that other person is coming from and they might have actually intended. That there are generational, the you are feeling as an attack might not actually be an attack. Like, we're all in this together. And I think certainly right now we have very, very real, very well organized external enemies that want nothing more than to see everyone in this room washed from the face of the earth. So it's great to demand perfection from each other and from allies, but let's kind of keep the focus on what's going on outside and come for us.
So I'm going to speak up because I think y'all can hear me. So the next question we're going to kind of talk about, since we are kind of going down the generations, is we're going to speak on what some things that we think that maybe some of the older generations should know about, like our experiences with the queer community, what queer joy means for us. Just essentially talking about the same things. What are maybe not words of wisdom, but words of advice to people who are trying to interact with the younger queer community, and how we can help hold that space together for each other. If you'd like to go first.
Oh, that's a.
Yeah, we put it on
We'll
the
see.
coffee table and point it.
It might die.
Can you hear now? Is this working?
Yes.
It seems to be working. Okay.
It works good now.
Okay. And now with the technical difficulties, I've forgotten what the question was.
What is your advice and information to maybe older generations of queer people and what you want them to know?
Oh, I have so many thoughts about it, and trying to get them all to come out in words is going to be interesting. Honestly, I am just so glad to have older people from the community here, because like a lot of the oldest queer people that I have known are not that old in the grand scheme of things. So it is nice to meet people who are older and to know that like there are people from the community who have been here longer than I have and longer than we've realized, and just I'm losing my train of thought because I have a lot of feelings about this, but I am glad that there are multiple generations of us here, and I just want to keep the connections between those generations going. Like, I volunteer in the summer with like little, like under 10-year-olds, like kids who are exploring their gender, and they are so cool to me. And I just think that keeping kind of that flow of older queer people meeting younger queer people is so important and so just comforting, because I look at these kids who are figuring out at like 8 years old stuff that I didn't understand till I was 16, and I'm like, you go, you're doing amazing. So yeah.
I'd like to.
Because I get to be the timekeeper today. We've got about 15 minutes left.
Okay,
So.
I had just a really short comment I wanted to add to that, and then I
Please
saw
do.
that you were asking if anyone had questions. I think that that whole bit about like, seeing like older queer people and how impactful that is. And I remember, I think it's really important because it's such a big part of queer joy, is being able to see that gay people just don't disappear after they turn 25. They exist after that. There is a future to that. It's not just you get to be loud and gay for like 20 or so years and then you just disappear. There is more to that. There's more to live for. There's more experiences to have. And it's an example that there is more to life. You can have a family. You can you can be those leaders in your community. And one experience that is really memorable for me is when I was at the Pride Center, a gentleman came in, and I think he was about maybe 72, and we were talking about top surgery with like a younger member. And he said, I remember when I had my compression binder after my surgery. And that is like a core memory for me at this moment, because I had never met anyone that old who was trans before. And just to imagine myself in that position and to being like an old queer person is something that I am so excited to be. All right, cool. How do I see if we have questions?
Yeah. For those. Mute and ask questions. Whatever works for you. You have a question. Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, while we figure our stuff out with the Zoom, we'll ask the audience, which this stuff like this.
Hi, my name's Amanda. I use any pronouns. I'm just wondering, like, because this generation has like inherited like a lot from like your guys' legacy, I just want to know, like, what do you want us to be like your main takeaway from it? Like, what do you want us to learn like the most?
I'll answer that. Hi, Amanda. What I'd like to see is you guys survive, and you know, a lot of people don't make it. And it's really, really refreshing. It's true what you were saying, people just disappear and never to be heard from again. So it's really important that you guys carry on, and it's all, so that you don't go around thinking it's all for naught. Like, why did I risk my status, my whatever, just for what, you know, so it can all disappear. So I'm really encouraged to see the new faces, and just remember, it's a political act. It really is. Like, it's not just about a personal choice. We are going against the status quo, and there are a lot of people, as Rob said, would like to see us gone. So it's brave and courageous for anybody. And thank you for sticking with it and carrying on.
Being yourself and loving yourself is the most radical thing that you can do. So keep doing that.
Yeah, do that.
I think Rob had one of the Robs.
Well, first, I'm starting to understand what she's saying there with the ALS. That means clap. Yeah, I know this stuff. So throughout generations, it's been the younger ones that have been the ones at the front line. I was in my generation, I was one of the front lines. I'm not so much the front line anymore, but I still play an important role. And so we'll just keep doing that, stay in the front lines, fight that social policy, remove, what's the word? Lateral violence, be kind to each other. I think that's really big, be kind to each other. Because we're so connected but disconnected because of social media and then little things to be said. And try not to take everything to heart, because these are people that are hiding behind social media. Talk to people, be face to face, and keep doing the fight, keep changing those social policies.
Hi, so my name's Ryan. I use he, they pronouns. I've been really liking the discussion on the kind of advice of what younger generations can do when moving forward, as obviously in the last couple of years, we've seen that the fight is not over yet. In times when things get really struggling and overwhelming, what's something that you wish you knew at the time when the struggle was at your peak that you want the younger generation to know?
If you feel like you're going to have a substance use disorder, take care of it. Don't let yourself get into a substance use disorder. Too many of our people has happened. That's one thing I wish I had changed about myself.
So for those moments when you're really in the toilet, that's when it really counts. So, and if you're alone, it's really hard to get out of that. And sometimes you just spiral. I find that's a really easy crossroad to stay up or just slide. And so again, just today is today, like, and I don't know, in my younger years when I used to suffer from PMS, I would always remember tomorrow's a new day. Like you would feel so crappy that one day and not seeing any end in sight. So just really know that it'll end, that horrible moment, and tomorrow's a new day. It sounds really contrite to say, but in the moment, it seems like that's all you can see. So breathe. Just don't do anything stupid. Don't take that bite of chocolate bar, whatever your favorite addiction might be at the moment. Just don't do it. Just stay still, hide if you have to. Just stay really still and breathe. And it will go.
A mentor of mine used to say, in our secrets lies our sickness. And to share with someone, not for advice, not for anything, but just share the pain that you have is incredibly therapeutic, for me at least.
Did you have something you wanted to add, or?
I think
Just
everyone's kind of
adjust.
said everything.
Yes, that's what I was about to just turn around to do. Okay. What is one message you would like to convey to the incoming generations who don't feel supported as they come out and transition into their journey? So I'm assuming this is kind of about folks who are just kind of coming into their journey, whether that be through their gender, their sexuality, their expression, whatever. What message you might have for them who are maybe not feeling supported, and how they can overcome that.
To find your people. The support is out there. The community that you're looking for is out there. You're definitely not alone. Everything that we feel is very unique and individual, but it's also something that other people have felt similarly enough that there's going to be connection. So find a safe way to connect with the community, whether that's in spaces like this, whether that's in gay bars, whether that's places like the Pride Center, whether it's like queer sports teams or queer church groups, or just randomly reaching out to strangers on the internet. No, I know you're not supposed to, but like in a safe way. There's people out there that have been through what you're going through and love nothing more than to help you.
Just a quick thing. I just took a picture of the audience for Jan. She's part of the Aging with Pride, if that's okay. If it's not, I will delete it immediately. So I don't post on social media, but it will go to our Aging with Pride group. So thank you.
I think similar to what I mentioned before about the older generation giving like the younger generation grace to figure themselves out. I think it's really important to give ourselves the grace to not know, because I think there's this really big pressure to take that label and you got to keep it. That's it. Like you get one shot, which isn't realistic. That's very unfair. If anything, a lot of people go through like 6 or 7 labels within like that first couple years of figuring it out. And then that does nothing to say that you can't change your label like 20 years in the future just because things change for you. I think it's important to have that grace for yourself to not know, because that's something that's really a lot of pressure is put on you when you first come. It's like, well, what if you change your mind? So what if I change my mind? Then I know that now, but if I don't try, I will never know. And I think that's a really big thing of finding your community and trusting your gut about what feels right for you. And if that feeling in your gut changes, then that's okay. Trust, like follow your heart, follow what feels right for you. So find your community, trust yourself, and give yourself the opportunity to explore that.
We have just a few minutes left in our scheduled time today. For those who don't know me, my name is Jessica Scalzo. I'm the program coordinator of the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity. So I have the pleasure of working with Christy and with Dr. Chris Wells, wherever he mysteriously disappeared to in the last 2.5 seconds. So Chris was sitting there. Anyways, my heart and my cup are overflowing right now from this event. This is everything we wanted it to be. Christy and I, in the work that we do here in the center, our goal is to create thriving communities, and we cannot do that without connections to those who have come before and those who will continue to come up. And we take that obligation of being the facilitators of community very seriously, because that is where our strength lies and that is where our future lies. And I'm working very hard on not crying my eyes out in this very moment. But I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude for everyone who came today. Our community, our vintage community members. It's hard not to just call you old all the time. And it's vintage, yes, it's well aged like a wine. And for you to come here with open minds and open hearts and a vulnerability that is an incredible model for the generations to come, and to our students who this can be a very intimidating kind of situation. And I am continually impressed with the wisdom and grace and knowledge that you carry within you at such young ages. Coming of age in the 90s, I didn't have a lot of choices. There weren't words for my experiences. And we owe a debt of gratitude to the Tumblr generation for giving us those words. And I think that continuation and that growth is where the deep spirit of queerness comes from, because those words are a gift. And those experiences and battles that you fought are a gift. And it's just so beautiful to be able to celebrate Pride and our beautiful communities together. I would love, if people are comfortable, if we could maybe take a group photo of this beautifully diverse community before we all head off into the wilderness. We have some refreshments and snacks and a whole bunch of free stuff and resources at the back. So please help yourself. I would encourage folks to take this opportunity, and yes, I'm looking at the students, to interact and have conversations with those who are giving their time to us today. And we have small tokens of our gratitude for you to take home. So Christy, if you could help us to distribute those, and some of our students could probably help as well. Everything is labeled. This is an open invitation, I think, for us to continue these conversations. There's always a space for you here in our center to spend time together in non-structured time. Just come and have a conversation. These kiddos, these are baby queerios, will knock your socks off. We love them. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And for everyone who came to spend time with us today. So if you will, please come up for a picture.
Larry has just an announcement for next week for the.
Sure, and Larry is going to make an announcement while you folks very quietly come up behind the couches.
Thank you, Jessica. For next week's Aging with Pride, which will be the day before St. Patrick's Day, we're going to celebrate with a St. Patrick's Day concert. Roger Helfrich, who gave a wonderful performance last year, will be back with us. So I hope you all can join us at Aging with Pride next Thursday, the 16th.
Thank you very much for all your time. All right, and whoever is comfortable getting a photo taken, please come and file up behind here. And yes, thank you everyone for coming and listening to all these wonderful people.
That was awesome.
Thank you.